Sophie had always been drawn to old, mysterious things. Antique stores, vintage books, and faded photographs fascinated her. One chilly afternoon, while wandering through a small, dusty antique shop on the edge of town, Sophie's eyes fell upon an ornate mirror. Its frame was intricately carved with vines and flowers, giving it an almost Victorian feel. The glass was slightly fogged, but the mirror's charm called to her, almost as if it had a life of its own. The shopkeeper, an elderly woman with a knowing smile, saw Sophie eyeing the mirror. "Ah, that one," she said with a glint in her eye. "It's been here for years. Came from a mansion not far from here, built long before this town was settled." Sophie, intrigued but slightly unsettled, asked, "What's so special about it?" The shopkeeper's smile faded, and she leaned closer. "It's not just the age or craftsmanship. There are rumors. People say the mirror shows things that aren't always meant to be seen." Her voice dropped to a whisper, and Sophie could feel her heartbeat quicken. But she dismissed it as mere superstition. "How much?" Sophie asked, eager to own such a unique piece. The elderly woman seemed to consider it for a moment before replying. "It's yours for $50, dear." Without hesitation, Sophie paid for the mirror. It seemed like a small price to pay for such an enchanting item, and she couldn't resist bringing it home. When she arrived at her apartment, Sophie placed the mirror in the bedroom, just above her dresser. It instantly added an air of elegance to the room. For a while, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But Sophie began to notice something strange. Every night, as she lay in bed, she could feel as though something was watching her. At first, it was just a sense of unease that she brushed off. But as the days went on, the feeling grew stronger. There was a weight to the air in the room, as if the very space around the mirror was charged with something that couldn't be seen. The unease soon turned into a growing sense of dread, especially during the night when the room was dark and still. One evening, Sophie woke up in the middle of the night, feeling unusually cold. The room was silent, save for the sound of her own breathing. Her eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, and she glanced at the mirror. There was something different about it. It wasn't the reflection of her own face, as she would have expected. Instead, a faint, indistinct figure appeared behind her, barely visible at first. Sophie blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But the figure was still there, standing motionless in the reflection, its features indistinguishable, like a blurry shape. Her heart began to race, but she forced herself to look away, telling herself it was just her imagination. But when she glanced back at the mirror, the figure was closer.